Hello class, welcome to this course, Strategic Management in Tourism and Hospitality. So this is your instructor, Jason Cano. So first, we will discuss about the section 1, the Introduction to Strategic Management. So again, Strategic Management in Tourism and Hospitality. So this course is designed for the student to understand the future leaders and the managers of the hospitality and tourism industry with an advanced and contemporary knowledge of strategic management. So expectedly, when you graduate on this course or in your field, you are going to become a manager or future leader of the tourism and hospitality businesses. Especially, it helps the students, you, to develop the analytical and practical managerial skills that they will need to do their jobs professionally and efficiently. It also takes a holistic approach to strategic management, emphasizing the importance of establishing synergies between the external and internal environments. So this course or subject structured in a stage approach to both help students understand the basics of strategic management and develop their own independent approaches to the complexities and uncertainties of the business environment. So it also emphasizes an appreciation of the major cultural differences and the various ways of doing business in the different countries. So for the section 1, we will discuss about the introduction to the strategic management. So this section introduces the strategic management and provides an overview of the book's structure and contents. In doing so, strategy is presented from a historical perspective from a various lenses, including the school of thoughts through which strategy has been conceptualized, researched, and developed over the past several decades. So this section then discusses key definitions of the terms used in the strategic management literature and various schools of thought in the field are described. So the learning objectives for this section. First, discuss the historical origins of strategic management, identify the school of thoughts on the strategic management, and also describe the strategic management framework and its objectives, define key terms pertaining to strategic management, and assess various perspectives of strategic management and their significance. So for this video, we are going to focus on the discussion of the historical origins of strategic management. So let's start. Strategic management is a field of study that involves the process through which firms define their missions, visions, goals, and objectives, as well as the craft and execute strategies at various levels of the firm's hierarchies to create and sustain a competitive advantage. So it helps organizations to prioritize what is important for them and provides a holistic view of an organization. So it entails two distinct phases that deal with formation and implementation of strategy with an organizational setting. So let's start with the historic origins of the strategic management. Historic origins of strategic management have been linked to the military. So the word strategy comes from the Greek word strategos, okay, which means general, like this one, general in a soldier's setting. In literal terms, it means leaders of the army. So military strategy leads or deals with planning and execution in a war setting, while taking into consideration the strategy and tactics required to implement the plan. So outmaneuvering the enemy in a chess-like situation requires a well thought out plan with emphasis on the plan's execution. Okay, so I will show you the example or the strategic management framework. So it all started with the vision, mission, and goals and objectives of a certain organization or a business. So we have here the internal analysis, which analyzes the strengths and weaknesses of a certain organization. And we also have the external analysis, which is the opportunities and threats. And then we need to have a strategic analysis. Under the strategic analysis, we have it called strategy formation. The example for this is the corporate level, business level, and functional level strategies. Under that is the strategy implementation. So after the strategy implementation, we have the strategy control. So this is the example of a strategic management framework that we are going to discuss in the entire semester. So first, the basis of strategic management can be linked to the works of Sun Tzu that date back to 400 BC and to Carl von Clausewitz in the 18th century. Sun Tzu's reference to space, we also have the quantities and other factors. Related is similar to the characteristics of the positioning schools. According to Sun Tzu, calculations underlie victorious situations in wars. Okay, and then Carl von Clausewitz considered a strategy a variation of themes. Remember that in our war situations. And according to von Clausewitz also, strategy was a open-ended and creative in a situation of a chaos and disorganization. So, this makes a more systematic and organized approach essential, which is why planning became a part of the process. Okay, and then the strategy formation takes into consideration the various maneuvers and the scenarios and the calculations pertaining to them. So being flexible while being proactive and deliberative, however, is essential. So the literature during the 20th century used these works to describe the strategy in the corporate arena. All right. And then the strategic management has a domain of the study that evolved over the past 50 years. So in the 1950s and 1960s, strategic management was viewed from a general management perspective with emphasis on the role of the leader. Okay, in the 1950s and 1960s, it emphasizes on the role of a leader. As a result, the focus was on leadership, interpersonal relationships, and the systems, processes, and structures in the organizations. So the firms use the top-down, this is called top-down approach, with the top management at the core of the decision-making process. So the strategic management process was not formalized and explicit during this phase. Instead, it was more implicit and informal. So during the late 1960s, the 1970s, and the early 1980s, firms adopted the strategic planning approach with an emphasis on the analysis and formalized planning with special teams assigned to develop plans. Okay, so the typologies and concepts related to business and corporate strategies with the strategy formulation at the core of such conceptualizations lead to the evolutions of the domain during this period. Okay, so in the 1980s, scholars emphasizes more on the strategy implementation as a process. So in the previous years, it emphasizes on the leaders or on the leadership. So there was a shift in emphasis from the leader to the development of the organizational culture. Okay, from the leader, there is a shift to development of organizational structure. At, and it is role in the defining and implementing strategies. Also, as a globalization began to capture the imagination of firms' executives, researchers provide more insight into the underlying concepts of organizations, I mean in the globalizations, including the system, processes, and structures. So that enabled firm to grow into the multidivisional corporation. So some scholars focus on firms' competencies to explain strategy, which lead to the emergence of the resource-based view of the firm. So in the hospitality and tourism domains, strategic management emerged as a field of study in the mid to late 1980s, okay, that aim to applying the works of the scholars in the strategic management domain to hospitality organizations. So most of the efforts aim at confirming theories related to contingency, strategic planning, and competitive strategy. Again, I repeat, most of these efforts aim at confirming theories related to the what? Contingency, strategic planning, and competitive strategies. All right. So in the 1990s, the globalization led to the emergence of network strategies and strategic alliance. It became the focal point around which researchers developed the literature. So more efforts from a resource-based perspective lead to the conceptualization of characteristics related to the firm's international competencies that enables them. Okay, so again, it is internal competencies that enable them to sustain competitive advantage. The shift toward internal competencies also saw a shift in perspective toward the knowledge-based view and learning at the core of strategic competitive advantage in the late 1990s. So the process continues using the knowledge perspective from the 20th century with increased emphasis on the corporate social responsibility. So I repeat, the progress continues from the leadership shift to the implementations, strategic implementations of the process, and then the progress continues using the knowledge perspectives in 20th century, okay, with the increase emphasizes on the corporate social responsibility. What do you mean by corporate social responsibility? So in an organization or in the business, we need to have a responsibility to the community or to the people that surrounds our businesses. They should not be negatively affected by our business activities. For example, if we have a manufacturing company, so the surrounding community must not be affected with our business activities. So we must do something that could help their living, or it could help their health, social life, and also their um, we can provide all their needs, especially on their daily needs. All right, so I have shown you here the development from Mitzbergs et al. 1998. This is the example of school of thought on the strategy. So in the 1990s, globalization led to the emergence of network strategies and strategic alliances. So these are the examples of school of thoughts in the strategy. So we will not discuss it one by one because we only have a limited time. So we will emphasize this in our next module. So we have here the school of thoughts on the strategy. We have the key concepts. We have a focus on the certain areas, and it will discuss also the different approaches. Okay, so we will discuss this further in the next module. So the next module is entitled Schools of Thought on the Strategic Management. Okay, thank you for listening. And then after having this discussion, after you have watched this video, you are going to answer the quiz one that is posted in the Google Classroom. So we have three types of tests. We have a true or false, that is 1 to 5, and we also have multiple choice, that is 1 to 5, and then the other type of test is, I called it discussion forum, in which it is also have a 5 points. So for this discussion forum, I send you a link, and then you read the discussion there, and then put an initial comment on the comment section for your reflection based on the discussion. That is 3 points. And additional 2 points if you will reply to the comment of your classmate. 2 counter comments, and then you will get 2 points. Okay, so see you in the next module. Bye bye.